What's up, everybody? It's a Monday, and you know the drill. We're going to talk about decks bronze through gold, all regions, below 5,000 dust, and you're going to be able to use these decks to climb the standard ladder without needing a payday loan. Let's look at the win rates really quick, just for the past 7 days, and look. Paladin, Warlock, Shaman, Druid, Death Knight, those are the winners of the next couple of days, I would assume. It looks like the balance patch that happened last week did not make a significant change on the budget decks categories. Even though Lamplighter was nerfed, that is a card that's being used in a lot of low-cost decks, I don't think it's moved the needle enough to where you would stop playing those decks. So I'm looking at Warrior and I'm looking at Rogue, and I'm like, these are ones pretty low. And Rogue, Rogue is doing Rogue things still. There is still some Rogue decks that are very good, very cheap. We're not going to talk about those today, but if Rogue is your thing, you can still do your thing and win. Let's go into it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 decks that we're going to talk about that are below 5,000 dust. And before we do that, let's talk a little bit, just really briefly, about the classes that are running. Let's look at the last 7 days, bronze through gold. Listen, we just talked about Death Knight being good. It's got a couple of options there. Demon Hunter, it still has Pirate Demon Hunter. That one's not going anywhere. Look at that, 19,000 games. Let's see, Druid. Druid has Concierge and Dragon, and those are 2 options that are pretty good. One's a little bit more expensive than the other, and both of them are almost the same deck. Secret Hunter, we talked about Secret Hunter last week. It's still at 56%. That's really good. And then Spell Token Hunter. Listen, you're seeing Amalgam Hunter right here that's saying that it's at 44%, and maybe that is the case, but when I looked, it said 51.5% on the deck that I showed you last week, so that still is an option. Mage only has Elemental Mage. Spell Mage is lower. There is still win rates in this. Don't look at this and say this is the be-all, end-all. Spell Mage is super cheap, and it isn't broken yet. You can still play that to climb the ladder. And then Paladin's doing Paladin things like it always does. It's got Flood, Hand Buff, Mining. You know the drill there. Zarimi Priest is the only thing doing anything for for Priest, excuse me. And it's not going too many crazy places. Elemental Rogue, look at this. 54%. Everything else is supposedly, based on these statistics, trash. I'm not saying it's trash. Rogue can do some broken things. And if Zeddy had his way, Shadow Step would be nerfed into oblivion. The card just wouldn't exist. Just Thanos snap it right out of existence. I don't really care. I'm not huge into playing Rogue. That's my own personal preference. Shaman has some options. Shaman got a couple of buffs in the balance patch last week. So we've got Pirate, we've got Evolve, we've got Elemental, we have Highlander. You have multiple choices to choose from for Shaman. And listen, they might be expensive, but you can definitely climb the ladder with those. And then Warlock is doing what it normally does. It's going to punch itself in the face so many times. Pain, Insanity, Sludge. It's almost the same thing. I don't mean they're the same decks. It's just almost the same thing. You're causing pain to yourself to put some crazy stuff on board, and turn 3, turn 4, your opponent who's playing the Pain Warlock has a whole bunch of 5/5s and 5/6s and crazy things on their board, and they can defeat you with it. Warrior has Highlander and Virus Control, 51.4% and 56.7%. So you have options no matter what you're playing. You have one option if you're playing Rogue and one option if you're playing Priest, and you need that second mortgage to play Zarimi Priest. Let's go into the decks today. Ready to go. First of all, we have Frost Death Knight. Frost Death Knight is at 3,880 dust with a 58.9% win rate. And this is essentially what it was the last time we talked about this. It's been a while. It's been months that I think we've probably talked about this. It's got Miracle Salesman. We know what that does. Scarab Keychain. Corpsicle is the new latest and greatest. This card for Death Knight is awesome. It does 3 damage and then spend 3 corpses to return this to your hand at the end of your turn. If you're doing it right, you will be playing this all throughout the game. You will never lose this. Just make sure you're watching your corpse indicator for how many that you have. You have Dreamhound Handler. That's a new one where it goes and it rushes, and its Deathrattle is summon a 1/1 Deathhound with Reborn. So right there, if you do it right, you can get your 3 Corpsicle corpses pretty quickly. Frost Strike, deal 3 damage to a minion. If that kills it, discover a Frost Rune card. Remember, you could kill your little 1/1s, or you could kill your little hero power minions. Make those corpses work for you, as well as playing that if there's nothing on the opponent's board. Harbinger of Winter, I can't say that word. Deathrattle, draw Frost spell, and we know what some of these are. This one's Chill Fallen Baron. We know, why is these duplicates in here? That's weird. Gorgon Zormu, a awesome card as well. Use this one. It's very, very good. It's got a lot of utility. You could use it in any deck you so choose. Mulligan it as quickly as possible to get that little 2-cost cheese that summon those 1-cost minions when you put it in, and then, you know, it upgrades each turn. So just put it in your hand, let it go until you need it. You will need it. Hardcore Cultist, you know what that one does. Horizon's Edge, another great card. Besides the art being amazing and fantastic, this does a lot of damage. And then listen, after a friendly minion dies, reopen this. You're going to have a lot of your friendly minions are going to die quickly because they're little 1/1s or 2/1s or what have you. But you could use this to do a lot of hit damage to your opponent, and it's got 5 charges, so you could do a lot of it at once. Might of Menethil, we know what this is. Spend 3 corpses, freeze that many enemy minions. You got a crazy thing on the board that you can't kill, but you don't want it hitting you or hitting any of your minions on board. Use Might of Menethil. And then Marrow Manipulator. This one, I love this card art. She looks mean. Spend up to 5 corpses, deal 2 damage to a random enemy for each. So you're going to have corpses, you know what to do. Like, we're talking about this like you've never played before. Frostworm's Fury, deal 5 damage. Freeze all enemy minions, summon a 5/5 Frostworm. So it's called Frost Mage for a reason. It's all frost spells. You're doing frost things. You're freezing stuff. You've got Corpsicle in case you get hungry. You want one of those zombie cones or what have you. Don't know why you'd want it. And then look, Ziliax. I am so shocked that Ziliax is in this deck. I'm just kidding. I'm not shocked whatsoever. This one has the Pylon module, which your other minions have +1/+1, which is advantageous because a lot of the minions that are in there are little 1/1s anyway. And then also the ticking module costs 1 less for each friendly minion. Yes, this part was nerfed, but it's not nerfed into oblivion. This card is still awesome. You should still play it. It's very easy to pilot this deck. It is based on what, you know, you don't have an OTK or you don't have a build that's specific to where, okay, these are the 5 cards you play. You're just looking at your opponent. You're freezing your opponent to keep them from hitting you, and then you're using the little minions that you're creating, and then the +1/+1 from Ziliax and the Frostworm and everything, and you're just, it's a war of attrition here. It's a good deck. It's not going to get you super far. It's going to get you, like I said, bronze through gold, but this will give you something to work with. Next up, let's talk about Odyn Warrior. We haven't talked about Odyn Warrior in a very long time. This one's at 4,280 dust, which is pretty cheap for a warrior deck, and it's at a 57.7% win rate. Not a lot of crazy cards, not a lot of differences from the last time we've talked about any warrior deck with Odyn in it. Look, we got Garrosh's Gift. You know, this is a temporary card that going into your hand. It's either execute, shield blocker, brawl. So it's situational based on what you're dealing with at the time. Razorfen Rockstar, after you gain armor, gain 2 more. Warrior likes to gain armor, so listen, this is a good card. Shield Slam, deal 1 damage to a minion for each armor you have. Blade Storm, deal 1 damage to all minions, repeat until 1 dies. This one is an awesome card. I love this card. I love just watching this card's animation play out. It's very cool. Needle Rock, at the end of your turn, gain 2 armor, draw a card. Safety Goggles. This one's another awesome card. I love this. When I play Highlander Warrior, this card is always in that deck. Shield Block. You see what we're doing here? We're making a lot of armor. Why are we making a lot of armor? We're making a lot of armor because of Odyn. It's just the thing it is. This one, Bellowing Flames, another great card. This one is easy for you to take out big minions or take out a bunch of small minions. It's a great card. Make sure you forge it. You'd be silly not to. Hey, look, more armor with Heavy Plate and Restaurant Viper. There's a lot of weapons that are being played right now. Your opponents have like 2 or 3 weapons. If it's a paladin, every card in their hand is a weapon. So use this one. Use it based on what the situation is at the time. You know, you're only going to get 1 of these, but it's also tradable. So if you don't need it right now, or you're playing a class that doesn't have weapons, you'll be good to go there. Aftershocks, another cool card. Craftsman Hammer. Whenever your hero attacks, gain 3 armor. What are we doing here? We know what we're doing here. We're going and we're trying to get armor. That'll come up in a minute. Ignis the Eternal Flame after you forged, or if you forged a card this game. Remember, I said to forge that card. Craft a custom weapon. Depending on where you are. I normally don't use this until I have 10 mana close by, and then I'll make that crazy 10 mana weapon, but, you know, to each their own. You might need it earlier. Just a card. Replace your starting hero power with a better one. What does the better one do for Warrior? More armor. We like armor. Sanitize. This one's great too. Deal damage equal to your armor to all minions. Gain 4 armor first. First, you want the forge ability, and second of all, we're gaining armor. Why are we doing this? We know why we're doing this. So, Odyn plays very, very easily for the rest of the game. After your hero gains armor, they gain that much attack for that turn. So, gain a whole bunch of armor, and then go ahead and hit your opponent in the face with your face because you have all these armor cards in your deck and in your hand. It's very simple to do. So me personally, even though this is 9 mana, I would be hard pressed not to keep this in my hand. Me personally, when I see it in the mulligan, I want to make sure I have this. Kept win rate is at 39%, so I am probably one of the ones that, you know, are doing this, and maybe I shouldn't, but it depends on the situation. You know, there's a lot of upfront force damage that's being come to you right now in the game. In the meta, it's just very, very aggressive. So you might not want to do this, but I want to make sure that I'm using Odyn as quickly as possible, as quickly as I can, so I can go ahead and get that bonus of using those armor things to get attack as well. So fun deck. Again, I do not think this will go super, super far, but bronze through gold, it absolutely has a good win rate right now. Next up, Deathrattle Death Knight. We're talking about 2 Death Knights in a row this week. That's pretty good. This one is exactly what you think it is. It's Deathrattles, and we know what the Deathrattles are for Death Knight. There's a lot of things you can add to this. Listen, Terrible Chef. Summon a 0/2 Nerubian Egg. The Deathrattle is destroy it. Grave Strength. Give your minions +1 attack. Spend 5 corpses to give them +3 attack. Horizon's Edge. Dealing damage to, you know, randomly split among enemy minions. We already saw that. Yelling Yodeler. Yelling Yodeler works really good with Terrible Chef because you're getting those eggs. Corpse Bride. You're spending up all those 10 corpses or what have you. Zilliax. Hey, look, we have Zilliax again. I know you're shocked. I'm shocked too. Cost 1 less for each corpse. We've spent this game. You know what you're going to do there. Death Growl. Death Growl is choose a minion, spread its death rattle to adjacent minions. Ooh, wonder what you could do with that. Miracle Salesman, we know what this is about. Don't use Death Growl on Miracle Salesman and a bunch of stuff so you get a bunch of tradable snake oils. That's silly. Don't do that. Whenever you play a Deathrattle minion, give it Reborn. So use this with the Deathrattle that's there. Mining Casualties. We have that. There's so many things that you can do with this. Remember, we have Acolyte of Death. After a friendly undead dies, draw a card. So if you need card draw, you have it. Gorgonzormu, we've already talked about that. So this one is essentially trying to get out those Nerubian eggs and then destroy those, obviously. Grave Strength to make them stronger. Horizon's Edge to, you know, chip away at your opponent's board or, you know, what have you. Yelling Yodeler, we know why we're going to use this for more Nerubian eggs. And then Zilliax has Pylon. Your other minions have +1/+1, so that's going to be good. Ticking Module as well, costs 1 less. Are you sensing a pattern here? Yes. Zilliax is in everything. Zilliax is only used in certain situations. No, Zilliax is used in every situation. So love it or hate it, Zilliax is not going anywhere. Even that nerf did nothing. I don't even call it a nerf. It was kind of a nerf. It was a nerf adjacent, but we're okay with it. Last up for this week, we have Treant Druid, 4,600 dust with a 57% win rate. Love it or hate it, Treant Druid is doing Treant Druid things. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing the same thing as we've done before. And listen, I'm going to say it. Before we get into any of the cards, look, Zilliax is here. Are you sensing something? It's just a simple fact. If you're just starting out in the game and you have something that you want to do, with you want to craft one card. Ziliax is probably the one, because even though they've nerfed it, I think this is the 4th time, Ziliax is not going anywhere. Ziliax is just super strong. So Treant Druid, you got Innervate. Innervate does what Innervate does. You can't even see it on the screen. Cactus Construct, discover 2 cost minions, summon a 1/1 copy of it. We want this just to have some board presence really quickly. Summon 2 1/1 saplings, blossoms in 2 turns. We got Funnel Cake, Overheal will refresh mana crystals. Druid likes to refresh mana crystals. Living Roots, you know what this one does. You could choose one. Miracle Salesman, this one's also everywhere. There's like 5 or 6 cards that are just very present in the meta and has been for a while now, and Miracle Salesman is one of them. Makes sense. It's a strong card. Vicious Slither Spear, after you cast a spell, gain +1 attack until your next turn, which would apple Treants. Aerosolizer. I can't say that. Pronounce that 3 times and come back to me. This one's going to go ahead and get those Treants. Conservator Nymph. This is going to transform a Treant into a 5/5 agent with Taunt. Overgrown Beanstalk. Summon a 2/2 Treant. Draw a card for each Treant you control. So when you have a bunch on the board, do it that way. Blood Treant. This is a 5. Yeah, you're going to take a 5 health hit, but you're going to have a 2/2 on board, what have you. Summer Flower Child. Draw 2 cards that cost 6 or more. You know what to do. Hearth is in here. Hearth is the free card. We all just got the golden one. Make sure you check your shop if you don't have it, because you should be able to still get that. Very soon it's going to go away. But get that golden Hearth Stormbrew. And this is going to replace your hand with an iconic one from Hearthstone's past. So it's going to be something, crazy that you could possibly do some pretty cool combos for, or a big swing turn at the end. And then Cultivation. Cultivation is where it's at. You build a board of Treants. Those Treants are not going to be super crazy heavy. They're going to be 1/1s or 2/2s, or maybe even a 5/5 here and there. And then you're going to go ahead and throw out Cultivation. It's going to be very cheap for you because you've already been running through those Treants. So those full board +2/+2, or then you can also use it with Ziliax and make them even stronger. And then your opponent is sitting there looking at the little defeated sign in the game because you were able to take him down. That's all we have for this week. That's 4 decks that'll help you climb the ladder. I do this every single Monday, so make sure that you're liking, you're subscribing, all that fun stuff, and I will see you in the next video.